About Todd Blanche and his nomination to become Attorney General. That is now headed to the Senate floor. The Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday advanced Blanche's nomination in a vote along party lines. Republican Senators John Cornyn of Texas and Thom Tillis of North Carolina supporting Blanche after he gave them that memo stating the Department of Justice would not move forward with President Trump's so-called anti-weaponization fund and clarified the terms of the president's tax audit immunity agreement with the IRS. Legal experts and former department officials have said Blanche's written assurances can be reversed easily or at least evaded. And as the New York Times notes, the DOJ has broad authority to dispense cash to President Trump's allies, including potentially to January 6 rioters through existing processes. Meanwhile, tax experts tell the paper the new limits on Trump's immunity agreement did nothing to keep the president and his family from an enormous windfall offered to no other taxpayers. A deal the Times reports could save the president $100 million. Senator Cornyn was asked about all of this yesterday on Capitol Hill.
Well, the weaponization fund is dead. We pointed out that the Department of Justice has represented that to numerous courts. And as to the idea that it could be revived in the future, I think it's highly unlikely that could happen without the cooperation of the Department of Justice. And I think Mr. Blanche gave us the assurances that it was dead and would not be revived. And in this case, we have no alternative but to take his word for that. The settlement agreement could not be changed without the signatures of the parties to the lawsuit, and that did not include Todd Blanche. It could well be that settlement agreement, that entire settlement agreement, will be held invalid, but we don't know that yet.
The president was saying as recently as yesterday that he likes the idea of this fund, that he wants to find some way to pay these people. Does that concern you as someone who's tried to fight against getting this anti-weaponization fund in place?
Well, there's nothing we could do to rein in the president when he said he likes the fund and he wishes it still exists, but the fact of the matter, it's dead, and that's all we could do under these circumstances.
John, you picking up on something there that Senator Cornyn saying there's nothing we can do to rein in the president.
Already Democrats seized on that line yesterday, saying not just on this issue, but overall, that's the problem. The Congress, in this case the Senate, not even trying to rein in the president. They're going to use that as an argument to turn the Senate blue this fall, because they're like, we can be an actual check in the way the system's supposed to work of checks and balances.
And Mike, it boggles the mind that two senators who are leaving town, they got nothing to lose anymore. Right. Senator Cornyn's run out of office effectively by President Trump supporting the other guy, and Thom Tillis is moving on and retiring. They could have easily stood in the way of this and decided, based on a memo used to just kind of mollify them, that they could go along for the ride with Todd Blanche here.
Do we really want to get into mind-boggling? Because there are so many mind-boggling things occurring in Washington, D.C., especially out of the failure of the United States Senate to step up and, first of all, do away with the immunity that's supposedly in the works for the Trump family, the entire family, he and his sons, immunity from any IRS investigations. You got that. You get what we just heard, paying off criminals from January 6th. I mean, it's beyond mind-boggling that the presidency of the United States has become a cash opportunity for this particular president.
And despite what Senator Cornyn said, most legal experts are saying there's an easy way around this, or at least out of it, for President Trump to get what he wants on this weaponization fund. A Senate floor vote for Blanche's confirmation could come this week, before the chamber's month-long August recess. But because of Senator Mitch McConnell's continued absence, Republicans can only afford to lose 2 votes. Republican Susan Collins of Maine said yesterday she will not vote for Todd Blanche, telling reporters he had taken several actions that have further eroded the Justice Department's independence. Republican Senators Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, also leaving town, have not yet committed to supporting him. So, Sam, Susan Collins is a no. Are there other no's out there, or at least enough to stand in the way of Todd Blanche becoming the next Attorney General?
I think what we're going to see is what we've seen time and time again, which is they'll let just enough people vote no that they don't trip up the proposition. So it wouldn't surprise me, for instance, if Lisa Murkowski also was a no, but ultimately that they get to 50. And frankly, look, I'm not saying that there was no other outcome, but when you listen to John Cornyn and Thom Tillis say and rationalize why they are voting for Blanche, it's very evident that they weren't really looking for anything other than political cover to vote for Blanche. This idea, no alternative but to take his word for that. I mean, seriously, there are plenty of other alternatives. I can list a couple right here, one of which is vote against the guy. That's an alternative. You don't have to do it. I mean, it's right there. You're a senator. You have an independent mind. And I keep coming back to this, and I mean, who knows if any of this matters. But what they're essentially saying here is that Todd Blanche came up with this idea. This is what John Cornyn and Thom Tillis are saying. Todd Blanche came up with this idea for immunity and for a weaponization fund that is so unethical that we have to stop it. But we'll vote for Todd Blanche anyway, so long as he stops those funds. It's like saying, oh, you tried to rob a bank or you did rob a bank, but so long as you return the money that you robbed, we're fine with you. I mean, isn't the act of coming up with the weaponization fund, the anti-weaponization fund, and the immunity from IRS auditing, isn't that disqualifying enough for these senators? Apparently not. Apparently just a thin piece of paper is all it takes. And ultimately, I think Todd Blanche will get the 50 votes needed because J.D. Vance will cast the tie-breaking vote.
Yeah, and really, to that point, I mean, Blanche has already proven he'll do whatever the president wants. And Trump has been very clear in this last week. Wants that weaponization fund, wouldn't mind the IRS protections while he's at it. And yes, I also agree with his analysis. The Republicans are very good at counting votes. They're very good at keeping people in line. Odds are Collins was given permission to vote no because they know they have enough votes to get him through. They recognize Collins has a tough reelection fight. This could be helpful for her in a purplish state there in Maine, even a blue state. It'd be a surprise if Blanche wasn't confirmed.
And if that happens, the President of the United States' personal attorney will become the Attorney General of the United States.